In the world of reality television, drama is expected. Conflict is packaged into every episode, every teaser, every reunion special. But every once in a while, a moment happens that feels bigger than reality TV, bigger than entertainment, bigger than social media outrage. And that's exactly what viewers witnessed during the latest emotional firestorm surrounding 90-Day Fiancé stars Loren Andrei, Jasmine Pineda, and Gino Palazzolo. Because what started as another explosive night in the ever-chaotic Happily Ever After universe quickly spiraled into something far more emotional, far more personal, and far more uncomfortable for fans watching at home. Tears, accusations, emotional breakdowns, friendship tensions, marriage ultimatums, and underneath all of it, a growing question that many longtime viewers are now asking. Are some of these relationships reaching the point of no return? The emotional centerpiece of the episode came from Jasmine, whose painful breakdown over Gino left audiences divided, emotional, frustrated, and deeply invested all at the same time. Meanwhile, tensions exploded between Loren and Andrei in a confrontation that quickly became one of the most talked-about moments online, reigniting debates about loyalty, personality clashes, toxic communication, and whether reality TV fame itself is destroying relationships from the inside out. And the reason this story is exploding across America tonight is because viewers no longer see these couples as just reality stars. After years on television, audiences feel like they know them personally. They've watched weddings, immigration struggles, family conflicts, cheating allegations, jealousy, financial problems, emotional meltdowns, and public humiliation unfold in real time. For many viewers, these aren't characters anymore. They're emotional investments. And now, millions are watching relationships unravel under the pressure of cameras, fame, and nonstop public scrutiny. The latest controversy began during the newest wave of emotional confrontations tied to the Happily Ever After storyline, where unresolved tensions between cast members boiled over in front of cameras. According to footage and episode recaps, Jasmine became visibly emotional while discussing the ongoing struggles in her relationship with Gino, a relationship that has become one of the franchise's most volatile and psychologically exhausting pairings. For longtime fans, the breakdown didn't come out of nowhere. This relationship has been on a collision course for years. When Jasmine and Gino first appeared together in the franchise, audiences immediately noticed the imbalance in emotional energy between them. Jasmine often expressed intense vulnerability, insecurity, fear of abandonment, and explosive jealousy. Gino, meanwhile, frequently appeared emotionally detached, awkward, defensive, or unable to communicate effectively under pressure. And over time, those personality differences transformed into recurring emotional warfare. One of the most damaging moments in their history involved revelations that Gino had shared Jasmine's private photos with another woman, a scandal that deeply damaged trust in the relationship and became a defining turning point for viewers. Since then, almost every chapter of their relationship has involved emotional instability. Arguments over trust, arguments over intimacy, arguments over loyalty, arguments over money, arguments over exes, arguments over family, arguments over emotional neglect. And now, according to many viewers online, the relationship appears emotionally exhausted. During the latest emotional scenes, Jasmine reportedly broke down while discussing her feelings surrounding Gino and the state of their marriage. Previous episodes have already documented major intimacy struggles between the two, with Jasmine openly expressing feelings of rejection and emotional abandonment. And this is where the audience reaction becomes especially fascinating, because Americans watching this relationship are deeply divided. Some viewers see Jasmine as emotionally manipulative, overly dramatic, and volatile. Others believe she is reacting to years of emotional invalidation and humiliation. Some defend Gino as a socially awkward man overwhelmed by emotional intensity. Others accuse him of passive-aggressive behavior and emotional dishonesty. The online debate has become relentless. On Reddit, TikTok, YouTube comment sections, and fan forums, thousands of viewers are dissecting every facial expression, every argument, every contradiction, and every emotional reaction. And perhaps the most important reason this storyline resonates so strongly is because it taps into something many Americans recognize in real life: the slow emotional collapse of communication inside a struggling relationship. That's why the tears hit viewers so hard. Because underneath the reality TV editing, underneath the dramatic music and camera cuts, many people watching saw something painfully familiar: a relationship where two people may no longer know how to emotionally reach each other. At the same time, another conflict was exploding elsewhere in the cast dynamic. The confrontation involving Loren and Andrei immediately triggered strong reactions online because it highlighted another recurring issue inside the 90-Day Fiancé universe: the tension between friend groups, marriage loyalty, and personality clashes that eventually become impossible to ignore. Andrei has long been one of the franchise's most polarizing personalities. Known for his blunt delivery, aggressive communication style, and refusal to soften his opinions, he has frequently clashed with both family members and fellow cast personalities over the years. Supporters argue that he is brutally honest. Critics say he is controlling, arrogant, and confrontational. And in this latest wave of drama, those tensions resurfaced once again. People remember the early romance. People remember the hopeful moments. People remember the weddings. People remember the promises. So when those same couples begin emotionally disintegrating on camera years later, audiences feel the emotional contrast intensely. And for Jasmine in particular, the emotional vulnerability shown during recent scenes reminded many viewers that behind the screaming matches and dramatic confrontations is a real person experiencing real emotional pain, regardless of how polarizing she may be as a television personality. That doesn't mean audiences agree with her behavior, but many viewers clearly empathize with her emotional desperation. At the center of all of this is a larger question facing reality television as a whole: what happens when entertainment and emotional trauma become inseparable? Because there's an uncomfortable truth underlying many reality TV franchises. Pain gets ratings. Breakdowns get attention. Arguments trend online. Tears become thumbnails. And the more emotionally explosive a relationship becomes, the more visibility it often receives. That creates enormous psychological pressure on the people involved, especially when millions of strangers begin analyzing every moment of your marriage. For the future of these couples, the uncertainty remains enormous. Some fans believe Jasmine and Gino are beyond repair emotionally. Others insist the relationship survives precisely because chaos has become part of their emotional connection. As for Andrei and the broader cast tensions, viewers are increasingly questioning whether certain personalities can continue functioning peacefully within the franchise's interconnected social world. And that's exactly why the story has become so captivating. Because underneath the reality TV spectacle is something deeply human. People trying, and sometimes failing, to hold relationships together under extraordinary emotional pressure. And for millions of Americans watching tonight, that emotional tension feels impossible to look away from. If there's one thing this latest chapter of 90 Day Fiancé proves, it's that audiences are no longer just tuning in for entertainment. They're tuning in because these stories reflect real fears about love, trust, loyalty, emotional survival, and whether relationships can withstand pressure in the modern world. And judging by the emotional reactions flooding social media tonight, viewers are far from done talking about it. What makes the latest emotional collapse surrounding Jasmine and Gino even more compelling is the fact that longtime viewers have watched this relationship deteriorate in layers, almost like a slow-moving psychological storm unfolding over multiple seasons. This is no longer a simple reality television romance filled with awkward misunderstandings and cultural differences. What audiences are witnessing now feels more like emotional fatigue setting in after years of unresolved resentment, distrust, humiliation, and emotional instability. And that's precisely why the recent scenes struck such a powerful nerve across America. Because many viewers recognize something painfully familiar. Two people trapped inside a relationship where every old wound keeps reopening before the previous one ever healed. For years, the relationship between Jasmine and Gino has operated in cycles. There's conflict, emotional eruption, temporary reconciliation, another betrayal, another emotional crash, another promise to change, and then another explosion. The pattern itself has become part of the identity of the relationship. Fans know it, the cast knows it, and increasingly, even Jasmine and Gino themselves appear aware that they are stuck inside an emotionally exhausting loop they cannot seem to escape. That emotional exhaustion became impossible to ignore during Jasmine's latest breakdown. According to viewers reacting online after the episode aired, what disturbed many people wasn't simply that Jasmine cried. Fans of the franchise have seen tears countless times before. It was the tone of emotional defeat behind those tears that stood out. Many viewers described her demeanor as less explosive and more emotionally drained, a subtle but important difference that longtime relationship experts often identify as a dangerous stage in collapsing partnerships. Anger can still mean someone believes the relationship can be repaired. Emotional numbness and exhaustion can suggest something far more serious, and audiences picked up on that immediately. Across social media, discussions intensified about whether the cameras are now capturing the final emotional stages of a relationship that has been unstable for years. Some viewers argued that Jasmine's emotional reactions stem from genuine heartbreak and chronic insecurity. Others insisted her behavior remains manipulative and emotionally overwhelming for Gino. But what united almost everyone watching was a growing sense that the emotional damage between them has become severe. Part of the reason audiences react so intensely to Jasmine specifically is because she represents one of the most emotionally expressive personalities in the entire 90-Day Fiancé universe. Whether viewers love her or criticize her, they rarely accuse her of hiding her emotions. She feels everything loudly, visibly, and publicly, and that creates powerful television. But it also creates vulnerability, because in the age of social media, every emotional reaction becomes content. Every tear becomes a meme. Every breakdown becomes a trending clip. Every argument becomes a battlefield for public opinion. That level of exposure can become psychologically brutal, especially for someone already struggling with emotional insecurity. Many viewers have noticed over the years that Jasmine frequently speaks about fears of abandonment, rejection, and emotional neglect. During multiple seasons, she has openly expressed anxiety about being replaced, ignored, or emotionally disconnected from Gino. Those insecurities became amplified after previous controversies involving trust issues and intimate betrayals. And when trust erodes inside a public relationship, something dangerous often happens. Every future disagreement becomes connected to past pain. That appears to be exactly what viewers are seeing now. Arguments are no longer about isolated incidents. They become about accumulated emotional history. A single disagreement suddenly carries the emotional weight of years. That's why relatively ordinary conversations between Jasmine and Gino can escalate so rapidly into emotional warfare. They are not simply arguing about one issue in the present moment. They are arguing through layers of unresolved resentment built over time. Relationship analysts and mental health commentators online have increasingly pointed to communication incompatibility as one of the central problems in the relationship. Jasmine often communicates through emotional intensity, confrontation, and direct vulnerability. Gino, by contrast, frequently appears conflict avoidant, emotionally withdrawn, and uncomfortable under emotional pressure. Those communication styles often create disastrous cycles. The more one partner pursues emotional reassurance, the more the other retreats emotionally. The more one retreats, the more the other escalates emotionally in response. Viewers have watched this pattern unfold repeatedly, and according to many fans online, the latest episode may have revealed the most emotionally fragile version of that cycle yet. At the same time, the growing conflict involving Loren and Andrei introduced a completely different type of tension into the franchise, one centered less on romantic instability and more on social friction, personality dominance, and group dynamics. Andrei Castrovet has become one of the most debated personalities in the franchise, partly because he represents a type of masculinity that produces strong reactions from American audiences. He is confrontational, blunt, emotionally intense, unapologetic, often defensive, sometimes aggressive in tone. To supporters, he comes across as authentic in a reality television world full of performative behavior. To critics, he appears controlling, intimidating, and unnecessarily hostile. That split perception has followed him for years. And now, tensions involving Loren reignited those debates all over again. What makes Loren's involvement especially interesting is that she occupies a very different emotional space within the franchise. Loren has often been perceived by viewers as socially aware, emotionally expressive, and relatively relatable compared to some of the more explosive personalities on the show. While she has certainly experienced her own controversies and difficult moments over the years, many fans see her as someone who generally tries to maintain social balance and emotional diplomacy. That personality contrast made the conflict with Andrei especially explosive, because when calmer personalities visibly reach their limit with someone, audiences often interpret it as evidence that tensions behind the scenes may be even worse than what cameras reveal. And once clips and reactions began spreading online, the internet immediately did what it always does with 90-Day Fiancé drama: it chose sides. Some fans defended Loren, arguing that Andrei's behavior has alienated people for years and that his aggressive communication style eventually pushes others away. Others accused Loren of being judgmental or overly sensitive. Meanwhile, Andrei's defenders argued that he is frequently misunderstood because of cultural differences and direct communication habits. This is one of the reasons the franchise continues generating extraordinary engagement online after so many years. The conflicts rarely feel one-dimensional. Most viewers can see flaws on both sides. That ambiguity keeps audiences emotionally invested because people project their own relationship experiences onto the cast dynamics. Someone who previously dated an emotionally distant partner may sympathize with Jasmine. Someone frustrated by passive-aggressive behavior may support Andrei's bluntness. Someone exhausted by confrontation may side with Loren. The show becomes less about strangers on television and more about viewers emotionally processing their own life experiences through the cast. That psychological connection is incredibly powerful, and producers understand that. Reality television today is designed not merely to entertain but to emotionally activate audiences. Every episode is edited for maximum emotional tension. Music cues intensify discomfort. Camera cuts emphasize facial reactions. Silence is stretched to create suspense. Conversations are structured like emotional cliffhangers. And in the age of YouTube clips, TikTok reactions, and Reddit analysis threads, every dramatic moment now lives far beyond the original episode. The latest Jasmine breakdown spread online almost instantly. Reaction channels dissected her tears frame by frame. Body language analysts debated Gino's responses. Relationship coaches uploaded videos analyzing their communication patterns. TikTok creators recreated scenes with parody skits. Memes flooded social platforms within hours. What was once a single television episode transformed into a nationwide digital conversation. And perhaps most fascinating of all is the way American audiences increasingly consume reality television like investigative storytelling. Viewers no longer passively accept what they see. They cross-reference interviews. They analyze timelines. They compare social media posts. They search for contradictions. They investigate off-camera rumors. They track cast interactions online. In many ways, fandom culture surrounding reality television now resembles political media consumption or celebrity scandal analysis. And 90-Day Fiancé sits at the center of that evolution, partly because the franchise blends romance, immigration struggles, financial pressure, family conflict, cultural tension, and emotional instability into one constantly evolving narrative machine. Every couple represents a different emotional archetype.